Tonight, I'll start with a question. What is the biggest takeaway from this pandemic? I'd say it's this: China cannot be trusted. 9 months into this crisis, the world has learned this very important lesson. But punishing China will not be easy because it remains at the center of global commerce. So what is the world doing about it? It is creating alternatives. And that's what we'll discuss tonight. The next battleground, global supply chains. At the moment, China controls them. It is the workshop of the world. But India is leading a new alliance to change that. 3 countries have come to the fore. They've come together. India, Japan and Australia. They have struck what you can call a supply chain pact. The mission is clear: challenge China's dominance as an export hub. On the show tonight, we'll tell you how they plan to do it. How can they take business away from China? How can they de-link the global economy from China? I'll start with what happened yesterday. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi delivered a speech to an India-US summit. You saw it live on this show. The Indian Prime Minister used the occasion to pitch India as the next export hub. He said global supply chains must be built on trust and not just cost.
This pandemic has also shown the world that the decision on developing global supply chains should be based not only on costs, they should also be based on trust.
Trust, not cost. I want to underline that. With that statement, the Indian Prime Minister sent a clear message. The world cannot just depend on one source of goods. It cannot just depend on China. The world has learned this lesson the hard way. According to a United Nations estimate, the Wuhan virus outbreak could have led to a $50 billion decrease in exports across global value chains. This means a loss of $50 billion, 50. This is the price that global businesses have paid for a slowdown in China. They need alternatives, and that's what India, Australia and Japan want to provide: another global supply chain. To understand how big the task is, we must know what China has. In 2019, China shipped more than $2 trillion worth of goods around the globe. 2 trillion. Chinese goods go to practically every corner of the world. So this map should show all the countries. But here we've only put China's 10 biggest trading partners. The list includes the United States, the European Union, ASEAN nations and even India. This one picture should tell you how China dominates global exports. And this is what India, Japan and Australia are up against. It's not just about individual countries distancing from China. It's about weaning global buyers away from China. How will they do it? Earlier this week, trade ministers from all 3 countries took a decision. India, Australia and Japan have decided to build a quote-unquote resilient supply chain. The Indian Prime Minister proposed reshaping global supply chains based on trust and stability. This is a declaration of a new alliance, and they're already hurting the dragon. Let me explain how. India is now in the race to replace China because of some recent decisions. Their impact is beginning to show. In the month of March, the government of India announced incentives for niche firms. Under this move, companies which manufacture in India will be eligible for a payment of 4 to 6% of their incremental sales over the next 5 years. What does this mean? In simple English, it means savings for these companies. Most probably, this money will come back to these firms in the form of tax savings. And it's an attractive pitch. Global manufacturers of electronics have taken notice of India's decision. About 24 companies have pledged $1.5 billion worth of investments. This is to set up mobile phone factories in India. Now let me tell you what Japan is doing. It is taking some special steps to create this Indo-Pacific supply chain. Japan is encouraging companies to leave China. We told you about this. The government of Japan is offering them a subsidy to leave China. And for this, Tokyo has set aside $221 million. It is for companies that exit China and move back to Japan or to Southeast Asia. Yesterday, Japan expanded this subsidy program. It has now included India and Bangladesh to the list. And by doing this, Japan has sent a clear message to its companies. It prefers to do business with India and not China. And if a company wants to move to India, the government of Japan will incentivize it, give it a subsidy. By the way, 30 Japanese companies have already signed up to move from China to Southeast Asia. And now with the addition of India and Bangladesh, those numbers are expected to grow. Then we come to Australia. Australia is fighting a trade battle with China. Australia demanded a global investigation into the origins of the Wuhan virus, and that's when the problem began. China was not happy. So it slapped tariffs on Australian imports and banned Australian goods. So now Australia has joined India and Japan to find new markets for its goods and companies. And this is just the beginning. The end game is economic distancing from China, pulling global business away from China, creating new supply chains. And India's focus is clear. It's not interested in just being a passive market anymore. It wants to be a manufacturing hub at the core of new supply chains. As I said, this is the new battleground.